I'm back with another one. I am back with another Love Lessons. For those of you that have not heard of what I'm doing all this year, I have been just having fun doing Facebook Live videos and where I just talk about relationship stuff. So I'll post things about relationships, and I am just gathering information and seeing what your interests are. Hey, Neg. Hey, Donald. So you guys have helped me come a long way. So because when I started, I think I said, let's talk dating. And then it evolved to love lessons. And now I have the concept for the next book I want to write. The only book that I have written so far was, I guess it's about 7 years ago now. That's a while. And that was called There's More in You. So this book I want to write about relationships. So that is what you guys are doing. So I'm waving to everybody in here. Hey, Harold. Hey, Sophia. Hey, Remus. I'm waving to everybody because I really appreciate you guys helping me brainstorm for my next book. I'll be starting to actually write next year. This year, I'm taking it really slow because I'm a teacher, I'm a mom, and I'm technically a life coach. So you'll see some posts and things about that sometimes. Hey, Amanda. So I wanted to talk about why you keep going back, because a lot of these things that I'll be writing about, if not all of them, I've been through them and I've questioned myself, and I'm just sharing some of the things that I've come up with. But I want to have a conversation with you guys. So that's why I bring people on. There was supposed to be somebody on tonight with me as well. I like to have male points of view. So a lot of the men are vocal. So shout out to the men. And then I also like to have a lot of single people, their perspectives, because this book is going to be primarily for single people, but it's not like somebody that's married can't get anything out of it, because I have noticed that the married people are chiming in and they have a lot to say about it. So before I get into the topic, I wanted to just acknowledge I posted a poll up, and it says something about how to do most women know how to treat a man. And I don't know, what do you guys think? I don't know if you saw that, but I posted it along with a video, and she was talking about 2 things that most women do not know, and 11% of women know. I think it was 11% of women know this. And she really went and expounded upon some things that women that are successful in their marriages know. So please let me know if you can hear me, because in the past people couldn't hear me. So please let me know if you are watching. Say hello. Say I can hear you. Shout out something. So hopefully you guys can hear me, because I don't see anybody saying anything. But hopefully you guys can hear me. Hey, there he is. Hey, Charles. So hopefully you guys can hear me. Nobody's responding, but I'm going to keep talking in hopes that everybody can hear me and that everything is going okay. But I saw this video, and most of you voted that most women do not know how to treat a man. And I thought that that was really sad. What she was saying in the video, which I don't know if you guys watched, but she said the 2 fears, and guys, let me know if you agree or disagree with this. But she said the 2 fears that men have with getting in a relationship is that they'll be controlled or made to feel inadequate. So I don't know. This was a woman saying it, so I don't know if this is true. But she was essentially saying that women need to believe in their man, and they also need to respect him and honor him, let him make decisions, make sure they're building him up. So I really wanted somebody to respond. There they are. They're responding now. Okay. So I wanted to hear what you guys, thank you, babe. Somebody responded. I hear you loud and clear. Untrue. Rula. So what is it then? Because I'm going to talk about this topic, but I did want to hear what you guys had to say about that. because I thought that that was really interesting. And I see it sometimes, but I don't know if that's like a generalized statement or not. So even if I know you guys have to have time to respond in the chat. So, hey, cousin. I know you guys have to have time to respond in the chat. So maybe you guys can respond a little later and I'll get back to it because I do want to keep going. But I really wanted to know, for anybody that just popped on here, I wanted to know if you guys agreed that most women don't know how to treat their man, that the two biggest fears that men have in relationships are being controlled or made to feel inadequate. And the one thing that woman can do about that is being encouraging and building her man up. So I'm just curious what guys think about that. Oh my God, that's funny. I don't fear any of that. I only worry that she will be whack or feel entitled. You are hilarious for that. So, I mean, maybe it's just a certain group of men. I don't know. And I don't even know if, I feel like it takes the level of vulnerability to even admit something like that. But I figured I'd put it out there because a lot of people still feel like women don't know how to treat men. So I figured like it was worth the discussion. And I feel like it's kind of tied into this conversation of why you keep going back. Because I'll tie it in at the end, but I feel like it could be tied into it. So let's talk about that. And if anybody sees this comment that James wrote, he doesn't fear any of this. He doesn't feel like she's going to try to control him, doesn't feel like she's going to make him feel inadequate in some way. He just feels like she's going to be whack or she's going to feel entitled. I have heard the entitled theme from a lot of men, that you just, so because a woman is pretty, that she thinks that that's all she has to be is pretty. So that's a theme that I'm getting from a lot of guys as well, that you've got to be more than pretty. So I personally, it's hard for me to relate to that. So I would love to talk to some pretty women about that particular point, because I hear men saying that a lot. And I think it's a conversation worth having as far as the female perspective of that, as far as the entitled kind of vibe that guys are getting. And I'm not sure in what ways, I hope that you're still on here, cousin. In what ways do you think that, would you fear that she's whack? You know what I mean? I would be curious to, because I think there's at least one person that would agree with you. So I think that's valuable information. Hey, Rev. Hey, Martrice. I think that's valuable information as well. So why you keep going back? I just have 3 points. And the first point of why you keep going back could be that you hope this person will change. Monturius. You hope this person will change, meaning that when you take a break from relationships, sometimes you begin to miss the positive parts of that relationship, and you start reminiscing on the good times. Anybody like Mary J, where one of her thoughts, one of her songs reminisce on the good times we shared. So you start to think about those kind of things, and then you get so into thinking about the good times that you guys had that you think that this person could change. So if you agree or disagree, then let me know in the comments as I go through these. Marjorie says some do and some don't. All depends on the individual and what a person have previously went through in a relationship. So I'm not sure. He might have been talking about that earlier comment and things that I said earlier about how men feeling the fear of being controlled or being inadequate. And that is very true, that we are some of our experiences, and it does depend on what we have been through, how we react to things. And some people for example, my dad, in regards to my point, when I talk to him about any exes or anybody I may be considering, he said, you shouldn't have never did anything to be sorry for. So he really doesn't have the view that, and I don't know if it's a male and a female thing, if females give more chances. So guys, let me know what you think about that. But I don't know if he's kind of cutthroat because he's a guy and he's just saying, I don't, he always says that he doesn't he said you should not give somebody a reason to be sorry. Sorry should never even come up where you're coming back and you're having to apologize. Because you shouldn't have never did the thing to have to apologize for. So that's a pretty cutthroat approach. But I think it does have merit to a degree that you wouldn't have to hope that this person is going to change if they had never did the things that they should not do. So one of the reasons why you may keep going back to one individual is because you hope that they are going to change because you really have love for them. So that's number one. Hey, Nathaniel. And if you have anything to add to that, then let me know. Let me see what James is saying. A lot of people, men and women, don't give enough of what the other needs, whether it's affection, support, respect, or true friendship. And that is so true. I was just talking about that. I don't know if it was last night or the other day, at least, where I think it was last night. I was like, a lot of people, their needs are just simply not being met. And when their needs are not being met, they're just not going to stay in that situation, period. Like, they're just not going to stay. And it's like, you shouldn't be offended because this person chose to move on because their needs are not being met. And especially if you're communicating with what your needs are and the person is not able to deliver that. However, people keep going back because they hope that this person will eventually meet their needs, and they're really hoping for that. So they keep going back. So the second thing is lack of faith that you can have a better relationship. So a lot of times you'll go back to something because you feel like this is the best that you're going to get. Like, you sincerely feel like this is the best you're going to get, and you're just going to deal with it, and you're going to just power through it. And it is what it is. And I've seen that so much. And that's what people, we have coined the phrase settling. So lack of faith that you can have something better. I think when you have gone through several disappointment after disappointment after disappointment after disappointment, you have tried to heal yourself. You have prayed. You have done everything you can do, got advice, read books, everything that you can think of to do, and you still get disappointed. Then sometimes, what I talk about in my first book, how your faith tank can get a little low, where you've got to fill yourself up, when it comes to faith. Like, you've got to really build yourself up to the point that you believe that you can have the best. And when you've been broken down, due to a number of reasons, we're not going to put the blame on anyone, but due to a number of reasons, you've been broken down, then for that reason, you may have a lack of faith that you can have something better. So that may be the best relationship that you have had, or you felt the best in that situation. So you keep going back to that situation in hopes that that person will change. Hopefully that makes sense. Rula is saying, but it all starts with communication and consistency. So yes, if this person at one point, if they were communicating, you felt like the communication was on point, you felt like the consistency was on point, then you will think about that. You will reminisce on that particular part of the relationship, and you will focus in on that and forget about the other parts. I found that it's so easy to do that. Totally forget. And I've done it, and I've seen friends do it as well. Rev says, I've been teaching a series on forgiveness. When God is foundational in your relationship, you can rest in the great possibility that change is coming. So absolutely, this will be a love lesson, because I always try to do a love lesson at the end. But I love when you guys share, because it really helps me. So where I think that you really need to forgive yourself in some of these situations, because you've allowed someone to treat you less than what you deserve, or you'd still be in the relationship 9 times out of 10. And you did not have God as the foundation in the relationship. And then if you change that, then you can rest in the great possibility that change is coming. So you really have to take a step back, and not necessarily be going back to the same situation, which if we're talking Bible, can't remember the scripture, but it basically says doing things like this is like going back to lick up your own vomit. Charles says, so many people enter relationships with how can I, quote unquote, gain from this, instead of saying how can I contribute to them. And it's just selfish. And when a person is selfish, it's hard for an individual to give of themselves so that the other feels like their needs are being met. So yes, absolutely. They do go into it feeling like, okay, what am I going to get out of this situation? And I believe that they do that because they have not healed, which is the last point I'm going to make. And then cousin, what's he saying? If a person doesn't think the utmost of themselves, then they will not only stop believing that they can have better, they won't even try for it. Go, you better go on. I feel like you just dropped the mic on that. Thank you, cousin. Hey, Joy. Had to stop and say, hey, that's my bestie. Okay. Hey, Melvin. So yeah, that was very true. So you guys, that was several lessons that I think some people can take from some of your comments so far. Because my last point was just that the heart hasn't healed from the past trauma. So that is one of the reasons why that people keep going back into the same situation over and over again, because their heart is wounded. So it's kind of like they may have taken a break and it scabbed over a little bit, but then as soon as they interact with this person, then it's like the wound opens up a little bit and they're just more susceptible to going back into that cycle. Or you can look at it as more of an addiction, to where you're addicted to something that is not so good for you. So you have to deal with what's within you so that you can stop that cycle of really, it's a lot of times it's emotional abuse. Sometimes it's physical abuse. So there's so many things that we can go back into and really discuss when it comes to the heart not being healed. So ultimately, I'm just going to recap some of the things. And if you guys have anything else to add, or anything else that you would feel that will be valuable to the conversation, especially when I write about this, because I think that's like a really ongoing theme when it comes to love lessons, is that a lot of times we can spend, and this is my dad talking again, I've talked to him a lot about relationships, but we can spend like 10 years, especially if those of us that's getting older, we can spend 10 years going back and forth with the same person, or we can spend 10 years or more with in a relationship that we're not happy with. So I'm going to read a few of the comments. I'm going to recap, and then I'm going to give my love lesson, and we're done. So Melvin says, if the woman is told the man is beating women before she gets with him and decides to deal. So yeah, you already are informed, but a lot of times I know I have personally tried to tell another woman, and a lot of people would disagree with what I did, but I did what I did. So it is what it is. So I tried, a guy had, I think it was a short-term thing, but he had really hurt my feelings. And I was like, well, let me tell this woman that he cheated on me with what happened, if she wants to hear it. I asked her if she wanted to hear it. she said no. Then, so I didn't really tell her anything because she didn't even want to know. And then, he kind of got upset that I was saying without saying, I was even willing to tell her, but I feel like it was kind of like a woman code. Like, I never say anything, negative. I try my best not to say anything negative about, I shouldn't say never because that's not true, but I try my best not to say anything negative about another woman when it comes to her being in that relationship. But I feel like sometimes women will not listen. And we think that this man is going to somehow treat us different than what he treated somebody else before. And he has not gone through healing necessarily. He was just with Sheila like 2 weeks before you, but somehow he's going to treat you better. So that's what a lot of women, that's the framework that they go through. I don't know if guys go through the same thing, but I know women do. Charles, he says, wow, addiction indeed. That's a good point. I agree. And it's often overlooked. So yeah, some people are, back to what I was saying before, some people are addicted to a feeling that somebody gives them. And they really should not be addicted to anything outside of God. That's just my opinion though. There's my mama. Love you, mommy. Blanche. And then Charles also says addiction can cause what we may say is strange behavior. Not only is healing necessary, but deliverance as well. So if you are not, I know a lot of people that I'm connected with are affiliated with the church and religion and stuff like that. But if you are a person that is not, deliverance is just really going through a spiritual process of healing. So I don't want to speak in such spiritual terms that everybody doesn't understand exactly what we mean when we're saying deliverance. But really, there is a such thing as spiritual healing. And I think personally, I feel like that's the best kind of healing because you can really get down to the root. So not only are you using techniques that are proven and true, but you can also get down to the root of things. And then Rev, he says, I love the addiction to hurt aspect, to non-healing position. You spoke on. Yes. I know that some people are used to struggle love, hashtag struggle love. So it's like you feel like if there's no struggle in it, then you kind of stop and you wonder like what's wrong. And some people subconsciously create a struggle because they're not used to free flowing love. They're not used to love that is easy. And I know I personally have struggled with this, which is why I am so committed to writing this book, because writing books are therapeutic for me. So I know personally never, or I wouldn't say never, maybe I've experienced moments of like real genuine love. Then it's when you get that, you kind of stop and question like, wait a minute, is the other shoe going to drop? Like something bad has got to happen because you're just not used to having that. So when you're put in, especially if you haven't even seen what real love looks like in real life, just on the Cosby Show, and now you know what happened with Bill Cosby, you like, what in the world? No, I'm just kidding with that second part. But you you just haven't really experienced what real love feels like. So it's really hard to even fathom it. Hey, Shanda, miss you, girl. Okay, so I think I got all the comments. So let's get to the love lessons. The love lesson in this is to love yourself enough to believe, to first heal, but then after you heal, believe in the best love for you, the love of your dreams. And I think, and I know that if you have not given yourself enough time to heal, and the time depends on the person. I know, I believe for me, it took me a really long time. compared to others. But it just depends on how bad the break was for you. I know in my case, my break, it was pretty bad. I was really traumatized and didn't even know it. And I just kept going and kept going. Kept going, meaning like I was taking care of kids. I was trying to build a career. I was doing all the things, but I was more traumatized than I thought after the divorce. So it really did take a while for my heart to be healed, because I really, at times, I felt like my heart was like, I felt like it was breaking. I know this is dramatic, but I just felt like my heart was like literally aching at times. And to watch everybody, because there was like an epidemic of divorces for a minute around me. It was like everybody was getting divorced. And to watch people heal, or I can't even say they heal, but watch people get engaged and married and engaged and married and engaged and married. I wondered to myself, well, what's wrong with me? Like, why have I not made it to that level? What's going on? And I think it was definitely, in hindsight, it was looking back at what I had experienced was traumatic, and it was difficult, and it was hard, and I had a lot of healing to do. I had a lot of faith to build that I would eventually experience the love that my heart so desired. So that being said, all the themes or all the love lessons have something to do with loving yourself, because you really got to love yourself through it in order to get through it. You really do. And no one can love you better than you. Now, somebody can add to it, but it's you and God at the end of the day. So when everything has gone away, and things happen with spouses and the loves of your life, but you really, it does, not to sound preachy, but it definitely comes down to your relationship with God, your relationship even with yourself, and then your spouse or your significant other or whatever your situation is. They're just there to add to your situation. So that is my last point. What is Rev saying? Divorce, been there. It's a void that is cold and continuous. I don't either. I don't recommend it for anyone, and I don't wish it on my enemy, because it is definitely, it is painful. So if you are in a marriage and you just happen to be watching this, like my auntie actually told me this. She was like, "D, you better make sure you're sure, because that is not something you want to go through in the moment." You feel like, oh, I just can't wait to get rid of this person. And then even after you get officially divorced, you're kind of excited and happy, like divorce party. And then it hits like, wow, that's over. And I put everything I had into it. If you were in a healthy relationship at one point, you did do that. You did put everything you had into it. So you want to be careful with that and do everything that you can to make sure to protect your union and protect your relationship. But please reach out to me if you have a topic that you want to discuss with me live, or you have a topic that you just want me to discuss, or you have a comment that you may not have wanted to chat. You put in the chat, but you wanted to share, then feel free to do that. People do inbox me when I can. I will talk to people because it just kind of helps me in developing my book. I am not coaching anybody, so I'm putting that out there. Right now, I'm focusing on my my youth leadership program. So I don't even think I plan on coaching anybody when it comes to relationship stuff. So if you're interested in a book, let me know. I can send you a link and how to get that, as far as there's more in you and in regards to building up your faith and building up your confidence. And there's some stuff in there about how to let go, how to heal, and things like that. The Love Lessons book is going to get way more into that because I think it's needed, because a lot of people are just in unhealthy relationships and don't even know it. But anyway, thank you For everybody that has tuned in, I appreciate all of you. Hey, Dexter. And hey, Greg, I appreciate all of you that tuned in. Feel free to like, feel free to share. I did put some of these on YouTube. I'm going to get back to that. If anybody requested, I'll go back through and start adding some more if you want to see some old videos. And again, if you want to be on here with me, because I love having conversations with people versus me just kind of talking into the camera, then hit me up and let me know. But thanks again for listening. Until next time, always remember that there's more in you. Goodbye, loves.